Fletcher for his briefing, and I now give the floor to Ms. Lynn Harfoush.
Mr. President, members of the Security Council, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My name is Lynn Harfoush. I am a Lebanese political activist from the city of Baalbek. I grew up in the Bekaa and spent much of my life in Beirut's southern suburbs. Today, like many families, mine too is displaced. In the early hours of last Monday morning, while Lebanese families slept in their homes, Hezbollah once again dragged our country into a war the Lebanese people did not choose. This decision was not taken by the state. It was imposed by a militia that answers to interests beyond the Lebanese borders. For many Lebanese, this is a tragic cycle we know too well. I am 34 years old and I've known nothing but Hezbollah's hegemony in my community. I myself grew up supporting them. In 2006, they entered a war by kidnapping Israeli soldiers at the borders. My neighborhood got razed by Israeli bombs. I was 14 then and saw Hezbollah as our protectors, even as I was displayed on a traumatizing night. But coming back to our neighborhood, I found our livelihood destroyed, suffocated by yellow flags claiming a divine victory, seeing them celebrate over our collective ruin while their grip on our streets only tightened. I felt they were occupying our wreckage to secure their own dominance. The mask fell and I saw the truth. The truth that resistance was a mere facade to exploit an entire country for an expansionist project. The truth that Hezbollah seeks to break us away from other communities through its ideological and social project. The truth that under Hezbollah's dominance, Iran's arm in Lebanon, war becomes a recurring reality, fear our constant companion, and our lives a mere expendable for the sake of the supreme leader. The terrible part in all of this is the very same scenario played again in 2023, when Hezbollah decided to open what they called the support front against Israel right after October 7th. And again in 2026, after they had promised the Lebanese government they would not commit suicide once more. And Israel's military response to Hezbollah, on the other hand, has resulted in mass displacement and destruction. Hundreds of Lebanese have been killed in the past week. As I speak, thousands of Israeli soldiers are massed at our southern border, and we Lebanese fear that the conflict can only widen further. We are trapped in this unending war of access. Who pays the price? Not the men who deliver speeches about resistance from protected bunkers, but the mother carrying 2 sleeping children down the stairs at 1 in the morning, but the elderly in Baalbek, the families in Nabatiyeh, and all the displaced now sleeping in cars, sidewalks, or in overcrowded shelters. According to latest figures, the number of internally displaced people has reached almost 1 million, including nearly 200,000 now living in collective shelters across hundreds of sites. For a country already battered by economic collapse, this is a disaster, one that needs to be addressed urgently by helping the Lebanese government. Yet, the answer to this humanitarian crisis cannot only be humanitarian. It needs to be political. At its core, Lebanon's crisis is one of sovereignty, accountability, and a weakened state. No society can rebuild, no economy can recover, and no youth can build a future when a country's fate is controlled by a suicidal fraction. Mr. President, members of the Security Council, I was raised in the very environment from which Hezbollah claims its legitimacy. I know its language. I know its threats. I know the fear it creates when people are told that silence is loyalty and obedience is dignity. But there is no dignity in radicalizing entire communities to serve Iran's theocratic regime through its doctrine, Wilayat al-Faqih. There is no honor in making Lebanese children pay the higher price. There is no resistance in holding an entire nation hostage. I am here to tell you that millions of Lebanese, including many Shiites, want a different future. I also speak to you today as a mother of 2 boys, Hadi, who is 11, and Rey, who is 10 years old. On the night the Israeli bombing intensified, Rey woke up trembling in the middle of the night and asked me a question that many children are asking. Mom, why do we keep going to wars when more people will die? Why can't we live in peace? I did not have an easy answer, but I will tell you this. Governments that normalized Hezbollah were all accomplices in where we are today. For years, the world looked the other way, privileging their dealing with Iran. For years, they treated an illegal non-state actor as a political reality, to be managed rather than a violation to be ended. For years, the world asked us to tolerate intolerance. Simultaneously, the Lebanese feel helpless and alone in the face of Israel's aggression. Dismissing international law, the global community has validated the rule of the strongest. This double standard has turned Lebanon into a graveyard for the very principles this council was built to uphold. We were told that accepting this parallel reality was the price of stability. But look at where that fragile stability has led us and the whole region. Today, I speak in the name of most Lebanese when I say, we don't want this stability. We want a solution. What is common sense and minimum norms of living in your countries are still a matter of discussion and disagreements in mine. Although for decades, the international community has outlined the framework needed to address this problem. Security Council resolutions 1559 and 1701 clearly affirm that there must be no weapons outside the authority of the Lebanese state, and that armed militias must be disarmed. These resolutions are not abstract principles. They are the internationally recognized roadmap for restoring stability and state authority in Lebanon. But they failed, and they failed because of the recklessness of some and the false promises of others. Today, the Lebanese government has begun to take important steps in this direction. Decisions have been made to outlaw unauthorized military and security activities of Hezbollah. Today, there is a growing recognition within the Lebanese institutions to reclaim the monopoly of arms and with it, national decision-making. At the center of this effort stands the Lebanese armed forces. The Lebanese armed forces are the sole legitimate defender of the country. Their success is not only a Lebanese priority. It is the only viable path to preventing Lebanon from becoming a permanent gray zone of proxy warfare in the region. Help them disarm Hezbollah and prevent Iranian interference and dominance, and protect our Lebanese borders from Israeli invasion. Supporting the Lebanese armed forces should therefore not be viewed as charity or assistance. It is an investment in regional stability. A couple of days ago, our president and prime minister launched a diplomatic initiative towards Israel. They laid the ground to the only solution to this war, ending the daily Israeli aggressions, obtaining their total withdrawal from our land, and allowing our people to return to their homes, while guaranteeing Hezbollah's disarmament. They even went further by suggesting to end the 80-year-old state of war between Lebanon and Israel. Because we Lebanese want to live in peace. Because we Lebanese deserve peace. a sustainable peace based on justice that would allow us to have a future, to have a life, a simple one, without fear, in which we can aim for our prosperity and well-being like other people. A life to live, not only to survive. Lebanon, Mr. President, is not a mere geographic entity for this council to manage. It is a founding member of the United Nations that contributed to drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's an idea of liberty and diversity that shouldn't fail, that cannot fail. Mr. President, members of the Council, I wish I could have been personally with you today, so I can look in the eyes of those who played a role in this turmoil and tell them what our ambassador Ghassan Touaini once said in the same room in 1978. Let my people live. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harfoush, for your courage and for that important briefing. And I now give the floor to those council members who wish to make statements.